Welcome. We are back, episode number 8 for the Solos podcast. I feel like we got to be very articulate at the top to remember which podcast we're doing. Of course, we're fresh off the double convergence point podcast, and here we are on the other side. We have Christmas looming, the solstice in our rear view, and the end of 2025. I had to think about that.
Mhm.
Just a couple days away. So there's a lot of convergence points and midnights and all these different timepieces hitting. What is this? Yeah, what does this mean to you? How are you feeling this week?
Well, we just did the Convergence episode of Solos Beam, the episode of Outside of Time, and it almost feels like that's what's happening with us in our life. Like we have all these scheduled podcasts and they're for two different things, but they're talking about the same things, but then we're figuring out like when to post them, but it's like they're not in order of how we're recording them, and it's very quantum. Like it feels like we went through this like quantum convergence point and we're kind of like starting to pop our head through on this other side. So it's almost like the rebirth, the midnight, the winter solstice, like the yearly dark night of the soul, basically coming through that kind of like rebirth point. That's how I feel right now.
Yeah, and to me, it's more conversation around perception, right? And I think it's interesting to know when we are experiencing a fresh perception or like a change in perspection, if you will.
Hmm.
Because I think part of stepping into that is also kind of like forgetting, or it's not forgetting the previous perspective, but it's like I've lived through that, so I know what that feels like. I'm on to the next one here.
Yeah,
Does
and
that make
that's wisdom,
sense?
right? Yeah, that's wisdom. It's like that's when it integrates into the body and it's no longer like you're thinking about it all the time. It's just it is. It's in the body and you're wise because of it and you hold that anchored perspective. So I was going to ask like what is your indicator that you're having a fresh perspection or it's a fresh, blanket
Yeah.
of snow, I guess we could use that example.
Yeah, I just feel like it feels different to me. It feels I don't feel the pressure of linearness, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like I can very easily unplug from like a focus that my mind has. Like sometimes
Mhm.
those thoughts get sticky and like I get in the narratives, but it's becoming easier to be like, oh, I'm tuning out of that one. I'm plugged into source over here. And then
Yeah.
it's like then the answers like show up differently and backwards and forwards and up and down and it's just but it feels if it doesn't feel off, that can be the way I'm describing it. Somebody might receive that in like a disorientation
Yeah.
way, but it feels good. It feels better. It feels right. It feels true.
Yeah. Like more ability to move, like more maneuver. It's like not the one-dimensional lane, but like the ceiling's been removed. So you can kind of feel that excess space, I guess, that's around you.
Yeah, yeah, and distortion, like those distractions, those mind narrative used to be like distortions and really lived out and gone through. It's like, no, distortion, pluck, distortion,
Yeah.
distortion, like throw it away, back. So
Mhm.
it's like it's more instantaneous. That time gap is lessening from like, oh, I know who I am, I know what I am, I know I come back here.
Mhm. I was gonna ask, what's the thing that's helped that the most?
Not wanting to get to that point.
Hmm.
So take the distortions that are slow. Like you can't rush any part of that process, but what you can do is just remember to come back to that point.
Mhm.
And then I think we're in that, this time period right now where like those jumps, those quantum jumps are more tangible, accessible. Like they're more effortless. They don't have to be like, how does this work again? What do I need to do? How do I get in alignment? It's like once you fall into alignment, you're doing it right away. It's happening. And it's like, oh, it's that easy? Okay.
Mhm. So what is a quantum jump?
Yeah, quantum jump. This will be interesting how I articulate this because it would probably be different from a week ago, which will be different than a
Mhm.
week from now. So right now, my definition is if I am on a thought narrative and it's sticky, it's something I have to do, a tough conversation I'm not looking forward to, whatever that is, then that like draws out and can be like it just feels all consuming. And as soon as I come back to source and like plug into what I am and the answer becomes clear on how to meet that and when to meet it, and that I'm removing myself from the decision, I'm basically timeline jumping to a new reality. And to me, that's quantum jumping.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm like, it's a timeline thing. Like, I'm stuck in this thing and the timeline goes in that direction. But then, kind of like the unplugging thing, I'm like, I'm not even in that timeline. Let me unplug this. I'll come back to it. I'll still address it, but I'm plugging into this thing, which is where my true nature is. And that thing was just the distortion, the distraction that was like sticky, that was dragging me in that direction.
Yeah. So what is a timeline?
These are good
We're gonna
questions.
we're gonna get into the very basics here because it's not
Yeah.
basics. It gets super complex. And I
Yeah.
think I just want to say before you answer, like there's so many people who are, and I think I might have even said this in the last episode, like people aren't questioning these definitions. And we made this whole episode around language and the language of perception, and everybody's just using their language and then trying to create a reality based off that. So they're trying to manifest timelines, they're trying to quantum jump,
Mhm.
but they're not asking, what does quantum mean? Like, how would I explain this to a 10-year-old, to like someone, to a 25-year-old who doesn't understand? Like, how would I explain this? Because if you can't explain it, then
How
what's
much do you know it? Yeah.
or if it, or maybe you do think you can explain it, but you're just regurgitating some
Mhm.
line that you read, that you've memorized, that is just a program, just part of a script. And so if we're reframing or questioning our definitions with these things, then by the very nature of questioning those definitions, it then reframes those relationships in our reality. And
Yeah.
that's what shifts. That's a jump. That's
Mhm.
a perspection change, is by understanding the definitions of the words that we are using, especially if we're trying to use them to create our reality in that very focused and specific way.
Very well said. I think yeah, the people not asking the questions, because it's like,
Mm.
well, I already know that. It's like, okay, well then say it. And just like
Yeah.
you just asked me right now, it's like, prove it. And then no matter, almost no matter what, no matter how certain you are in that, you'll probably learn something new, or like remember something that you need to hold in your awareness
Mhm.
by walking through like the architecture of what you're describing.
Yeah.
So a timeline.
Yeah. Timeline. What is a timeline?
Timeline to me is a choice point that continues on the path.
Hmm.
So for example, if I'm driving in a car and I'm in the passenger seat and I'm giving directions, I could say uh, the direction turn left up here, and that person will reach that street and be influenced by my speaking and turn left.
Hmm.
And if the turn is upcoming, and I think it's so obvious, and I don't even say turn left up here, I think that they know it and they keep going straight. I've kind of made a choice point in my timeline whether or not to say that thing, and it's influenced the rest of the things that happen after that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you can be on timelines with people, with significant others, with friends, and then you can see the timeline all the way through if you're holding that perspective of
Hmm.
like, what is the value of this person in my life or this experience? And if there's a lesson in it, it's qualifying some sort of distortion internally. And
Hmm.
once we become aware of what that is and then act differently in accordance with the truth of that thing, then we no longer need to have that experience. So we no longer subscribe to that timeline. No longer takes us in that direction. We don't have any more choices in that timeline. It's done. It's over.
Hmm. So I think people get really, I love how you just explained that. And I think people get really caught up in the line part. And that feeling you described of the pressure, I feel like that pressure can be amplified by thinking you're in like a line type of state, right? Because there is like a line of how we're measuring it, but what we're seeing and what we're explaining throughout all of these podcast episodes is how time is quantum and how there's a field of time. And so we're saying a timeline and it means something, but if we're saying timeline and then we think that there's, our life is based off of one specific line, that can go in one specific direction, then we're creating that crunch. We're creating that like pressure.
For sure. And it's this mind game of when this happens, then this will happen. When this happens, it's very linear. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a domino effect. And that feels really true, but that's what fears are, is playing out scenarios in your mind so that you can, think about how to control. Well, I don't want that to happen, so I'm not going to say this. Or I'm not going to take that action because I don't want this person to react that way. And
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing is we're confirming time. We're locking into the timeline
Mm-hmm.
instead of remembering, or qualifying. What is the fear? What am I afraid of? Bringing that to full loving awareness, and then when you turn back, uh, then it's outside of time. How you address it, you'll just know. It's a knowing that you get to, and that's how you know you're not linear anymore.
Mm-hmm. So I just had a question come up, but it left. It left. I'll see if it comes up again.
Were you stuck on the timeline, or were you falling in the quantum
Yeah, it
effect?
was it was about how you just said that like fear is creating the line,
Yeah,
basically. Like it's creating like and we have these expectations. So like what does it feel like to be in a quantum perception when
yeah.
you're trying to make those choices?
Yeah, I know you and I are meditators, so I will answer it that way for the meditators that are watching this. It feels like the end of a meditation with, like, no matter how sticky or frustrated or, squirmy you were when you started meditating, even if it's for 5, 10, 20 minutes, at the end of it, you're like, oh, this is what
Mhm.
you just feel energetically aligned. Like, somebody or something could come into the room and like totally tip everything over. You'd be like, oh, that's cool. Like, we're dealing with it. I'm doing what I can. So
Mhm.
it's this remembrance of, like, I can't control what happens to me, but receiving it in presence and loving awareness is what allows me to receive how to meet that in the most loving, easy, effortless way.
Mhm.
For the non-meditators, what I'd say is it's like after you sneeze.
Mhm.
It's kind of like a little bit like post climax. It's like this relaxed, like clarity that doesn't need manipulation from me.
Mhm.
That's what it feels like.
Mhm. Yeah, so I'm gonna pull this tool in already. So where's the correct timeline here? And where are we in the timeline? Are we in the middle of this timeline or are we watching the time unfold?
In- Interesting. I think we're ebbing and flowing between remembering that we're in the middle and then these very visceral experiences that we have
Hmm.
that are like playing out or acting out the timeline.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like if we're this ultimate creator and we can put a sun in front of us, this sun, and then we want to see the perspective of being that sun, then we incarnate into it as a soul, and then we are in the center of that structure while we are also looking at ourselves in the center of that structure.
Yeah.
So it's like the as above, so below type of uh, concept that the timelines feel easy or calm when we can see that there are all of them like happening at one time. When there's multiple lines that are available rather than just one specific line or one right choice.
That was the bingo for me because yes, that's when we feel most trapped, and that's when we're not uh yeah, we're not living in the quantum space, is when we are trudging forward like tunnel vision on a good example is like when you get angry, right? As soon as you get angry, you have one reaction, it's to yell, right? It's like boom, I can't even help it, it's just coming out of me.
Mhm.
Versus practicing holding the anger, when you feel the trigger come in, the anger rises in your body. It's like wide open vision of like, okay, what am I supposed to do here? It's more
Mhm.
curiosity than like reactivity. It's responsibility versus reactivity.
Yeah. So when was the first time you felt this like quantum perception and the ability to like see multiple choices at one time.
Yeah, I feel like I'm holding it now more than ever, but the first time I'd really have to think about that. Probably happened easily as a child,
Hmm.
but I think I don't know. I think of simple things like hand-eye coordination. I've always been good at baseball, and like I was a middle infielder, so I could hold. When hitting a baseball, it's difficult to see the ball hit the bat, so you're like kind of transferring and holding both awarenesses at the same time of the pitcher throwing the ball and me swinging the bat. So that's like a small example of holding like quantumness in my perception.
Hmm.
But like really being conscious about it, I think it's only been like, I don't know, a handful of years maybe where I've
Hmm.
been practicing it. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
And experimenting and experiencing, how sticky, even when I have that intention to do that, how I like collapse back in and like, oh, damn, I've done it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is all represented by like the quantum mechanics understanding of waveforms collapsing and particles, photons showing themselves and shifting when they're observed. And so we've talked so many times about observation and like how observation creates a change, it creates a shift. And in the double slit experiment for quantum physics, it's like they project these photons or these particles and they change when there's cameras looking at them. So it's basically saying that the photons will shift when they can feel something observing them. And so if everything is light, then that means that everything can shift and it can change when we're observing it, and it is shifting and it is changing. But that doesn't mean that when I look away from this, that like this wall behind me is gone out of existence. This wall is still here, but I'm not observing it, right? Like I'm
Mm.
not with my eyes observing it at that time. So why is it still in existence?
That's a good question. I think I've wondered that. I don't know if I have an answer
The
for it.
whole quantum fucking mechanics field wonders this. This is again the problem of measurement. It's like this is part of the problem where they can't articulate observation, non-locality. So how we talked about like the perception of what you're measuring shifts based off of what you're measuring. So there's different bodies, and so there's like this physical body, and then there's a body in another point in time, etc. There's the body of the earth. So it's a shifting scale, and they can't figure out how to explain that unified measurement, just as they can't figure out how to really explain this concept of observation creating reality or not. And there's a lot of groups who have basically put this idea out there that observation creates reality, and if you're not observing something, then it's not existing. And then when certain scientists ask philosophical questions about this, they say, well, those have no place in this space. Like this is for mathematical formulas and understanding these like predictive quantum mechanics and all these different things. And so it's like they aren't bringing in the philosophy with the exact science, and they're not allowing it to fuse in together.
Yeah. So if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? That's what the wall example
Yeah.
is, right?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Does it make a sound?
Yeah, I think it does and it doesn't. That's the quantum realm.
Mm-hmm.
It does and it doesn't at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reality where it does when I don't know. Yeah, observation is required for me to confirm that. But if I don't observe it, then does it?
Well, that's where we get into the realm of like, well, it's based on who the observer is, who we're measuring the observer is, because the Earth is observing everything at all times, always. So there's always an observer, but they're not taking into account that she is alive and is an observer. So her observation is holding things in place when we are not fully observing them.
Mm,
So it's again exactly like you're saying, this quantum state of bringing all the perspectives in at one single time.
yeah. Yeah. which is becoming less and less of a mind fuck.
Less and less because it's like it's not complicated. It's just there's complexity to understand once you anchor in those perspectives, but it's really like not complicated. Things can be broken down into very simple ways, which is just that we have other ways to perceive, and it's our body, and if we remove the fear from those parts of our body, then we unlock those perspectives. And it's like it's really like that simple, but we think observing and perceiving is through our eyes.
Yeah, so let's come up with a different example or topic that is really complicated to a lot of people, but we'll see if we can simplify it.
Yeah.
And it's related here. It's remote viewing.
Okay.
So the ability to tune into a different space and with your mind's eye
Hmm.
see. So linearly, that's not possible. You can't do that. That's not even a thing.
Hmm.
So how can you explain to somebody, I'll challenge you, maybe who thinks linearly to change their perspective, to open up their perspective? What would you say?
So I would first ask them what what is the definition of linear? Like, because it's still a linear experience, isn't it? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to understand for myself. Like,
Yeah. So
still creating a linear steps in order to tune into that. So it's like the distinction between space and time. Like, are we remote viewing something that's happening right now? Or are we going into another point in time? Because there's multiple ways to remote view. And for someone who is like, so what's the perspective of this person? Are they like a complete skeptic? Do they are they somewhat interested? Are they open to it? Like, because I feel like pose some difficult questions, I guess, or
yeah,
pose some of that perspective to see how we
yeah,
can break down these questions.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea that I like the concept of going like the square peg in the round hole. If I'm
Mhm.
the linear thinker, then get me to the quantum thinker. Like, what would you have to walk me through to get me to understand how a remote viewer, like if you want to go remote view, I think that question you asked is a good one. Is it something in time right now, or is it like in the future or the past? Maybe why does that matter? Why would you ask that question? Like
Well,
what would you do differently, I guess, if you were tuning into something happening now versus something in the past?
well, it's all now. So you would just be tuning in with the intention to a field of time rather than the field of space. So, like, if you're wanting to view something that's happening like right now on this earth, like at this time, you're tuning in through space. If I'm trying to see where someone is at the park or where this person is over here, or it's the same time, like we're not moving in the schedule and it's right now, so we're just moving in space. But I don't know how to explain it like without questions is the thing. Like
Mhm.
it's hard for me to because it's like I don't know where the person is at, you know? Like I have to understand where the person is at because it's like, how about you try it? You try it. How would you
Yeah.
explain the quantum
Well,
field to, because it's like my mind is so open right now.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
where is the anchor point, I guess?
Well, I think you make a good point because that's a sign of a good teacher. Like, how could you possibly teach somebody, you're gonna teach me calculus and I haven't even learned addition, right? So
Yeah.
you have to know like what level you're starting at so you can give them the next level,
Yeah. It's
which is
like,
interesting that you got to
yeah.
give them the linear answer to where they are linearly in their understanding.
Yeah. So it's really questioning, like, well, what is your like, what are your questions? What are you not believing? What are you doubting? What are you like, and it's such, a specific circumstance. And I think this is almost the answer to the question, is how quantum and multidimensional it is, because it depends on who you are speaking to. It depends on the body they're in, the age they're at, the emotion that they're in, there are so many factors that then can accumulate into a very simple question of like, well, how do you feel about this? And that is then going to give you an idea of kind of like how to explain things, you know? But it's like people are so quantum that it's going to be different for different people. Like if it's a group of children, you know, like yeah, I could probably figure out how to explain it to children. You know, it's like I'm going to write a children's book about it. It's about the field of imagination. Yeah, it's the imagination that you're tuning into, but that imagination is the realm of the world. It is the realm of the quantum field. And so, yeah, it's like yeah, there's so many different things that I see where it could go.
Yeah. So go further with imagination. So imagination eventually crystallizes, right? And so that's part of what's happening is that our crystallization of our imagination is being, not to get too blue beamy here on the Solos podcast, but it's being manipulated, right? It's being
Mhm.
steered.
Mhm.
So go more into imagination because, yeah, an adult or somebody who's locked into their beliefs and has forgotten what it's like to so easily as a kid come up with like games and have your own fun by yourself for 2 hours. Like what is the magic of our imagination? What's the capability here?
Well, there's a fine line between it because the imagination can also create delusion. There can
Yes.
be a complete sense of this isn't actually the truth of reality. And this person or I am imagining it, and I'm then leaning into that imagination and declaring it as the truth of reality, which is trauma and fear and all sorts of stuff. We imagine all sorts of things, but that imagination's being influenced by our emotion, by our energy body. So like the kids are have such a strong imagination because they don't have all of that pent up like crystallized emotion in their body yet. They're an open flowing channel. It hasn't closed off yet. And so they can have an imagination where, you know, they grab a stick and it's a gun or a sword and they're in a battle. And, you know, here's where the line starts to get interesting because if you're tuned in to a level of cosmic consciousness, then you can use that imagination to turn the stick into an actual sword. That's what wizardry is. That's what shifting a glass of water to wine is. You're shifting a quantum architecture into a physical architecture. Jesus had to imagine that that was wine first. So we've cut off and created a distinction between imagination and like visualization. So the imagination is going to connect us into some aspect of the mind, some aspect of something that's happening in the metaphysical world. But then it's about is that continuing into our physical reality? And like do we have the ability to bring that into our physical reality to make
Yeah.
it true?
So let's work off this Jesus analogy. I like this. So say, Jesus was studying this, and this is actually the fourth time he tried it, but it was the first time he pulled it off. What
Mm.
happened? What happened between time three and time four that made it click for him? What did he release or understand that made him be like, "Oh, I got it."
I don't know. I have no idea. I have no clue what that is because conceptually I get it, right? It's like this is something I've done over and over and over again. There's been plenty of times where I have felt so unified, so connected in with everything, feel like my Merkaba is literally like spinning, that I'm so light and like that I could basically lift off the ground, and there isn't anything that I could do. I can't shift anything. I can't do that. So there's some gap that's there that isn't closed. And I don't know what that gap is besides translating it into the body and into the memory of the soul. So it's like there's some part of me that that hasn't needed to turn that on right now, or that
Yeah.
hasn't yeah, it's like this is something that I'm experiencing in real time. So I really don't have the wisdom in my body, in this body, to be able to explain that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is this the time because we're talking about it?
Maybe, I don't know. The thing is,
Well,
I get upset talking about it because it's this thing where I've like gotten my hopes up so many times
yeah.
around it that then
Yeah.
it doesn't happen, and it's like it's this like bitterness.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, well, this is what I want to share because I've been practicing this lately and it's around language. So it's just like a this mini prayer to God. And whenever there's something I've come across that I just can't quite understand, it's a language problem. So I just say, like, grant me the language to be able to understand and receive this message of this gap between my understanding of how to make quantum reality crystallize into physical reality.
Yeah.
So right there, there's the prayer. Now we just wait.
Mhm.
We wait until next episode.
Yeah, till the next episode. All right, we're done. See you guys in the next episode.
But I've been doing that, right? I want to understand these things, and I just ask for the language to understand them. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think it's like it's an alignment and a collaboration type of thing, because it's like if the planet isn't at a space to be able to like hold that with yourself, like the collective isn't, if the goal is raising the collective ascension and vibration, then it's like the goal isn't even to really have that turned on right now. It's like that trusting in the timing again, that it's like this this simultaneous, again, there's the quantum thing, this simultaneous process where like the planet is preparing you for it by unearthing all of these emotions. And so it's like when that alignment comes, that timeline kind of kicks in, and it will then be available, I guess.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I raised my hand at one point while you were talking because it's the convergence of all the timelines that you're sort of waiting for. So you might be ready, you might have prepared, you might understand as much as you need to about this. And like you said, you probably feel that, right? And then it's like, well, why isn't it happening? Well, like you're saying, it's maybe not in the highest good, or that's not the highest timeline yet. So maybe your lesson is patience, right? Or dealing with the frustration and that bitterness. Like that's another qualifying aspect that will allow you to step into that when the time is right.
Yeah.
And I had another thing I was going to say, but I forgot. But it's right there, so it'll come back, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and that's what is necessary right now, is like the miracle is like the grounded forgiveness, basically. Like
Yeah,
all of the stuff is going to happen. It's just natural. And so it's like right now the point is to be where we are, I guess.
yeah,
And I feel like that plays into the stuff that was coming up like 10, 15 minutes ago, but I can't connect the dot yet.
yeah. I think I'm getting closer. So what I wanted to say was I met this gentleman on LinkedIn a couple years ago. His name is Dr. Bob. I'd have to look up his last name. But I think we connected over like assessments that we both had, and we shared these things. And he shared this like he's been locked into this higher intelligence at multiple times in his life, where he would get this gift of being able to describe like these complex things. So at one point, we are talking about plotting the quantum potential on a map. And what he shared with me, and there was a visual of this too, is that we experience things in spirals, as we know, right? So it's cyclical. So just pretend like you could plot all the cycles of all the timelines on this map, Well, there's different points in the timeline where they converge more than the other ones.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what we're waiting for is the convergence of everything. Because
Hmm.
what you're saying is once you do what you just said, like flying around in your Merkaba,
Hmm.
that's going to shock the shit out of the world. That is going to be news that is like, is this Sasquatch type of deal? Like, how do we know? Is there proof? And people are going to be like, I just fucking saw him floating in the sky. So, like, everybody has to be kind of ready for that, right? There has to be a ramp up period or not. Some people, like, that's where we're going is the inevitability where
Yeah.
there's more sightings about UFOs. And I don't even know what we call them nowadays, but like these things that are not making linear sense and you're
Hmm.
having these choice points of like hiding your head in the sand, be like, I'm not going to believe any of this stuff, or like going down the hole of conspiracy theories and like really exploring what the hell is true about all these things. So
Yeah.
the more we go into the distortion of it, the more it prepares everybody for the truth when they see it. And they're going to see you floating in your gold Mercury, be like, yeah, I believe that shit.
Yeah, and it is the preparation. Like that's what, and it's like I'm still like I'm in it and we're in it, but it's also like understanding the depth of what is being stepped into, which
Yeah.
is like um being able to hold all of that. And there's many people who are going to be doing that. And so yeah, it's just like and it's funny because today is my fake birthday, right? So this is today is the birthday that I was told was my birthday growing up my whole life.
Wow.
That it was December 9th, 1991. So I found out that it was December 12th, 1987. So speaking of like multiple perspectives, like on this day and on the 12th, it's like this whole shifting thing in my perception where I'm seeing this complex of myself that was connected to this old fake birthday like come up to the light and like leave and dissolve. And so it's this like whole shifting back and forth type of feeling. And it's like I don't know why I brought that up. I can't.
Well, I feel like that prepares you for mastery, right? To have
Yeah.
gone through that, you have the embodied experience of a perception that you believed for a significant portion of your life, and then all of a sudden there was another truth that was like, what?
Hmm.
I can't even imagine, how you would have received that, but like at a certain point you came around to understanding and feeling that was a truth, right?
Yeah.
So you
At
had
that
the
point, yeah. At that
the
point,
perspectives.
it was simple because I had had all those other perspectives already. That there were lies in my life. That I was told these things that weren't true. That all of the whatever
Yeah.
it is, like I I had gotten those perspectives already. That was going on. So then once that came up, it was very simple. It was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense because I could see all of the different perspectives kind of becoming the singularity happening at one time. And that's what that feeling I think is that we were talking about at the beginning of like all those angles. The timelines are angles and you can feel yourself in the center of them and seeing them from a bird's eye view like at the same time.
Yeah, so let me ask you, I just got this image of the archangel, as we've talked about before. The arc is like on the outside perspectives of the timeline. So it's like if you're on the inside, the circumference is very small, right? Versus going on the outside of all these extended timelines. So an archangel is able to see around all of the timelines. That's kind of the way I'm
Yeah.
seeing it.
Yeah, well, because geometry, it's like so. Here's the thing. So we're seeing it from a bird's eye view, right? It's like we are zoomed out and we can see the arches and the arcs. But we have that other perspective, which is going into the thing, into the very center. So that looks like a microscope, right? That would look like zooming in. So if we zoom in to our body or to where we're standing, we can just zoom in and 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 zoom in, and it just keeps going forever. That is the nature of the quantum field, is that what we're seeing with our eyes isn't the limitation. Like that's that limitation that we perceive with that isn't there. And so if the the arc of the angle exists in a macro perspective and a micro perspective, that means that the perspective is zoomed all the way in as well and is all the way down, like in the ground, in the feet, in the microscopic quantum field, that is then also like looking up, basically, or in the lower underworld area. And for this, I would reference Ant-Man, the Marvel movies. Like the way that they portray the quantum field is very interesting. And it's like this guy who can shrink himself into this small size, and he ends up going too small and he shrinks himself into this quantum field. And because he shrinks himself so small and enters the quantum field, the quantum realm, they start to discover worlds within the quantum realm of beings that are living in there. And then they start to use this quantum realm for time travel so they can shrink themselves into the 0 point of the quantum realm and then like relocate in the quantum realm and then re-expand. And that's the point of time that they're in. So it's like the quantum realm isn't just expanded out, and it's not just zoomed in. It is everything. We are in the quantum realm. What do
Mm.
we think we're looking at when we look at space and when we look at the stars? If the quantum realm is a field of photons, then we're literally looking at a field of photons that are stars that are just different potentials in a field of space and time. That's why we always come back to it all being parallel Earths, it all being Gaia, it all being the same star manifesting as different stars. Because if you think about a visual in a quantum field, you're literally looking at different potentials of superposition. They're in multiple locations at one time. The Pleiades is just a future point of Earth. Like these stars are literally points of light within the quantum field of space. So quantum is both time and space.
Yeah. Yeah, we're in the field.
It's a
We're
convergence of both.
yeah.
It's the thing that holds the wave and the particle together.
Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting.
And if you think of a line, a wave. So a timeline is not always just a straight line through, because if you zoom in on like the vector, that's what they call a vector in physics or in I don't know, astronomy,
Yeah.
space, whatever
Yeah.
the fuck it is, all the different stuff. Vector. It's like it's a vector. It's the direction, the angle that you're moving, but it's actually not just a straight line. The line is spinning. It's a spiral. And so if we zoom into a vector, inside of that line is going to be spirals moving through it. So it's not just this direct, straight, one dimensional timeline that is only getting like certain angles, right? Because it's like these are all, there's no circular angles in this, although I've shown that we can see it as a circle
Hmm.
from certain angles, like right there. But there's no fucking circle in here. It's a dodecahedron. It's all cornered lines.
Hmm.
So it's like we have to get two perspectives. We're getting both the circle and the square, which the square would be the right angle, the circle would be that, and then we have the triangle. Square, circle, triangle. And this goes back to our Freemason conversation, which is the infrastructure to reality being broken down into the building blocks of a square, a circle, and a triangle.
Any crazy theories on the Vitruvian Man? Because I believe it has that sort of architecture in the painting. I'm drawing a blank on who painted it again.
Da
Was that
Vinci?
Michelangelo? Da Vinci. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't really. I mean, I know that Da Vinci was a starseed and that he was deliberately putting these codes and these things in there. Like, There were secret societies that were positive in those times. There are secret societies that have positive beings now, and so he was a part of that. But I don't really know like too much about it.
The reason I ask is because all three of those shapes are like, and there's like angular
Yeah,
things that are important about the way that they're drawn. So it's a very interesting piece of artwork.
yeah, and the ratios, and so this is what the Hermetic seal is.
Oh yeah,
This
there
is
you go.
why I use this and I have this tattooed everywhere because it's the circle, the triangle, and the square. And so it represents the building blocks of light that is a hermetic seal. So you can use these to hold all of those different perspectives in one. And so
Hmm.
that's where the process of alchemy comes from. Like
Yeah.
the school of alchemy is coming through that like hermeticism essentially, which is based in just the geometry.
Taking something and making it into something else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which would be taking something in the quantum realm and making it physical.
Right. When I think about the Merkaba and flying, I
Hmm.
think of you know how like you see like a bee pollinating flowers? It's just kind
Hmm.
of like it can move in any direction with its wings and like effortlessly, and it can like speed up and then slow down
Yep.
like at will. So
Yep.
that's the nature example that's coming to my mind.
Yeah. And that's how a lot of these like UFOs and UAPs appear. Like they'll shift right angles going really fast. And
Yeah.
it's because it's the 0 point. It's like if if you change direction from the center, like if you I saw this in my mind one time and it made a lot of sense. It's like the way to change direction is that a line is going to come out of the center of the body and like go like that basically. So it could come out the center and go that way, this way. So if there's a circle moving and the line comes out of the center, it can change direction the opposite way like that because it's the center point shifting its vector that is like rather than physically turning, like thinking that you're going to have to turn and go like that, like you're already observing that point behind you. So it just displays, like you observe it, and then the angle shifts and you move yourself there.
When I was in college, I'd come home and I would mow the lawns for my summer job.
Mm-hmm.
And they had something called the zero turn mower. And that's what it was. When it wasn't going, you could push this lever forward and pull this one back, and you would fly around like instantaneously. So,
Exactly what that
as
is.
opposed to pushing it and just like walking it around,
Mhm.
right? So, like, boom. And then all of a sudden it would flip around and it was like
Mhm.
instantaneous.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
so see, we're figuring out all the quantum. It's here already.
Yeah.
Nature, technology.
Yeah, in our body, it's like if you think of the way that our joints move, it's like we have 360 like ball joints, and then we also have hinge joints. And so it's like we have those two, we have right angles, and then we have the circle. And so it's like we have that in the makeup of like the mechanics of creation too. It's like levers and pulleys.
Yeah,
And I think this has even been broken down completely in like the age of Pythagoras or what's the other guy with the name starts with a P? I can't remember. Um, I can't remember. But
Pythagoras was my guy.
it's like Pythagoras and something else.
Ptolemy.
And no, not him. It has something to do with like this, like math and geometry. Maybe it was Pythagoras. But he's basically talking about pulleys, like like lifts and pulleys, and how like there's these different mechanisms of those working. It's like right angles and moving up and down and back and forth like a pendulum, or there's the circle. But then the circle can come together and it can create like that back and forth type movement. So it's really all the complexity is happening from these very baseline levels of like our self because we are light itself. We are lines of light.
Yeah. I'm kind of picking up when you're doing the things with your body, like how important it is to tune into be able to do those movements. And I think there's an indication if you're doing one of those movements and something is sore.
Yeah.
Um, there's a website that I think I may have shared with you at one point. It's called The Alchemy of Healing, and it's I'd have to look up the author. We'll give her credit in the show notes.
Hmm.
Um, but she has discovered or, at least published different elements in the body and what they're connected to.
Hmm.
And so different things mean different things in the body depending on what ailment it is. So, yeah, so it's an indication wherever your body is sick is the thing that needs to be addressed before you can fly in your Merkaba.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because it's like it's all is it Archimedes? The historical figure most
Aha.
famous for concepts of levers and pulleys is the ancient Greek mathematician and inventor Archimedes,
Aha.
who defined the law of the lever and invented the compound pulley, famously stating, "Give me a lever and a place to stand, and I shall move the world."
Ooh,
So yeah, Archimedes, that's who I was looking for. Ptolemy's really important because he like mapped out the galaxy and like the constellations and like all of the astronomy like is based on like his mastery of astrology essentially.
interesting.
Yeah. And so both of those things go together because if we think of the movement of the sun, the movement of the planets, it's all geometry, it's all orbits, it's all the way that things are moving around themselves and in relationship to themselves.
Yeah, interesting. What part do you think is next for us to understand, or have we defined the frontier, the horizon point?
Well, I think that, yeah, it's like what is our end goal here? What are we trying to get to?
It's a good question. Are you asking me?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it is to live in the quantum space and the physical space all the time without losing awareness of either one.
Mhm.
So maybe that's a shortcut answer to like, I don't know what that would look like or why I would, I think at that point, then fear has left my body. So I'm living in total creator mode. So maybe that's my answer to be able to qualify my past pain and trauma and limited distortions and perceptions to be able to achieve a body, a physical body with no pain in it and no trauma, so that I am literally creating reality alongside reality.
So how do we use the quantum understanding to do that, to like bridge that gap?
I think we understand the quantum through the physical. Yeah, because otherwise it's all conceptual and mental.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like what I said with the body, like where is the ailment? And I can think of places right now where like my neck is stiff or like, I don't feel totally in flow. Like you said with the child, right? They're just in flow. They don't have the crystallization of the density
Mhm.
in their body. So we're still working our way through that, I believe.
Mhm.
And like we said, it's, can get exhausting.
Yeah. Well, you have like helped me with healing a few times where you've done this like quantum type of process. So can you like kind of explain how that plays into what we're
Yeah.
talking about? Because that was a very quantum process.
Yeah. This will be good because I haven't spoken this out loud in a while. And I bet with my new perceptions, I probably have a different way of understanding this. So, yeah, it's this idea that when we have a traumatic experience, meaning before we're emotionally intelligent enough to understand a bigger picture, so that's why it happens in childhood, but we have a situation that reminds us of death, basically, of some sort of fear where if we trace the fear deeply enough, we think that we could die. And it sounds silly to say that with like my caretaker yelling at me, but it's because they are the ones who create the safety for me as a baby, as a child, right? So when like I look to that person for my own safety, and so if they're not safe, then I don't feel safe.
Mm,
Okay? So there's these experiences when we have those experiences, energy literally leaves our body. We are not embodied in our fear because we leave it. It's such a uncomfortable feeling that we are no longer okay with feeling the sensation of fear that is caused by these external circumstances. So when over time, that experience that is stored in the body as a memory, even though the energy has left, is creating physical discomfort and even ailments in the body. And so, what I like to do when, it always starts with like a where do you want to go? Because then you'll bump up against the bumper car or the bumper rails of like why that can't be a reality. And it's a physical pain or it's a distortion or a density that's felt in the body. So once that's identified with, I like to associate it with a narrative, any sort of limiting belief that's happening. And then we trace it to where basically ask like when was the first time that this happened or I experienced this? And it's in a meditative state, but when you ask that question, you automatically go to that experience, even if you haven't thought of that experience in decades. And what you do is you go back and you see that moment and you can communicate with your previous self and ask what he or she was afraid of. And then just witnessing them in that moment, which is the quantum part of it, because you're witnessing yourself, you're giving yourself in that moment a different perspective that that self didn't have at that time. All right. And so once they declare what the fear is, they allow that energy to return to their body and they inevitably change and mature and grow. And it's this incredible, like it's felt. It is like I'm almost getting emotional just describing it right now. But that's what happens. Like the emotion returns to the body and it's love and it's being able to see that trauma and that perceived, unfairness or yeah, whatever you perceive was wrong with it or that you were wronged from a more loving angle to be like, I see how that benefited me or the wisdom that came through that I had forgotten that my current self needs to hear right now. Yeah, and then you address whatever you're currently going through in your life through the healed version of your past self. And it's just
Mhm.
this beautiful, beautiful experience.
Yeah, it was very beautiful and it helped me a lot when we did it. It helped me a lot. So, how could someone take that perspective and kind of take it into their day to day?
Yeah, it's the what do we say? Chop wood, carry water.
Yeah.
It's just brick by brick. So it's this is why I say it's literally the experiences that you're having in front of you. We've trained ourselves not to go into those things or to draw them out longer. I'm just at the point in my life where as soon as I feel discomfort or like something feels off, I'm like, what was it? Let's dive deep into this now so we can get rid of it. But that's all it is. It's this commitment to qualifying what feels limiting in your life. And the limiting could either be through thoughts, the fears that you have, it could be physical discomforts that you're having in your body. It's holistic. It's the way, perceive yourself in the state of bliss all the time and just have that be the standard. And whenever you're not in alignment with that, then address those things and it take, there's a lot there, but we're closer than we ever have been before to achieving this.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. We're a quantum being, and all we have to do is just exercise the muscle, really.
That's right. So, part of that is surrounding yourself with other people who allow that to occur. It's very difficult to do that in a place of where other people might judge you for that, or that's just not a priority to them. But to me, it's everything at this point in the game.
Yeah, yeah. Well, is there anything that wraps this up, that you is still left over on the quantum mind?
Hmm. We didn't get too much into remote viewing, but that's okay.
Uh, I feel like we kind of had to build it. And
Yeah,
so the next one, we'll make sure that we're getting specifically into that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think this is working through and talking through what we talked about today will set up that conversation because yeah, this conversation did need to happen, right? The original question was like, explain remote viewing to me like I'm linear, right? And so we basically, I think we did the square peg round hole, right?
Yeah.
We talked through that, which needed to happen before we do what we're gonna
Exactly.
do. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. And now we're going to understand how to view the process of remote viewing and bring it into the body and understand it related to the grounded perspective that we just anchored into.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And before we know it, season two might be us floating around in our Merkabas,
Yeah,
podcasting,
definitely. Yeah. You know, vlogging from live streaming from the sky, floating around.
right? Hell yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
that feels complete to me.
Cool. Yeah, me too. It was like we went through the rebirth. We did that episode outside of time and we're coming back in and we're like rebirthing our perception into fully understanding this new dimension is what it feels like.
Yeah. That's the first
Mhm.
episode on the other side of the solstice. And can we say this? Merry Christmas.
Yeah, 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 we can say it. We can say it. I won't limit your I won't limit your throat chakra.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's been cool. Next episode we'll be reflecting on more of the even more of the finality, but this has been a very fun experience to record these podcasts here.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Happy Hanukkah, Merry Kwanzaa, all this,
Yeah, all of them.
Merry Kwanzaa,
Uh-huh.
Merry Christmas, all Happy New Year,
Yes.
all the good stuff.
To all a
Make
good
a
night.
resolution to have a new perspection
There we go.
this year.
Yes. And mine's flying my golden Merkaba at some point in 2026.
Hmm. We'll see you there.
Peace.
Peace.